So now that we got an idea of what Randy does, right? Writes books. He's written one on biblical cosmology, the topic of our show and theme, and why he's here. So if we could also get to know you a little bit better, Randy. So would you please give us as brief or detailed version of your testimony as you'd like? I know we've spoken about some of the more advanced ideas from Scripture, but just like, how did you become a believer, and where'd you come from? Who are you?
Well, it probably will be brief. The testimony is the area that I struggle the most in, and I kind of in itself, I guess that is a testimony. I was raised in a Christian environment literally my whole life. My dad was an evangelist, so I always tried to do what's right, within our own understanding. But and I had the typical salvation experience at a young age, but something just always kind of felt lacking, and I would always struggle with that doubt of, well, is everything really okay? Something's not making perfect sense here. So never really got out and did a whole lot of crazy things. Like a lot of testimonies you hear are so amazing because it's such a drastic transformation, literally from death to life. And I think those are awesome. So I always feel a little ill-equipped because I never really experienced anything that drastic, but I was still just in as much need for redemption as the people who have got out and had some terrible life experiences, and God has turned that around for them. So I think being kept from those things is a testimony in itself. And being raised in church is great. It gave me that foundation piece. My parents always instilled in me that a relationship with God through his son, it was the most important thing in your life. So I'm thankful for that upbringing. But the older that I got, the more I did begin to question some of the things, some of the theology, some of the doctrine that I was hearing within the churches that I went to. And it kind of set a fire under me to get into the word on a whole new level and dig deep. And that's when things got interesting. That's when things really began to shift and my perspectives changed. And things only got better from there. And that's kind of how I got to where I am today is a search for truth. And it's like I always say when people are like, well, what is truth? You're always searching for truth. If you're always looking for truth, will you find it? And absolutely, because if you're earnestly seeking the truth from Scripture, it will always bring you back to Jesus, Yeshua, the Son of the Father, if you're truly looking for truth with the right motives. So I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for that curiosity that the Father has given me and the road that it has taken me down.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, Crazy, I want to add on to your testimony because I have a similar one, right? Grew up in church, didn't go to jail, wasn't addicted on drugs or nothing like that, and having a hard, no violent near-death experience into where I turned to God. I just had a moment where I felt like he got my attention. He answered my prayer when I challenged him in a way to make it real to me. So, but I grew up in a Christian home as well. I just want to ask everybody in the audience if anyone remembers the name Ithamar.
Is that a
anyone remember the name Ithamar? Familiar. Put it in the chat if you know who Ithamar is, or how about his older brother, Eliezer?
That sounds more
There's familiar. A lot of Eliezers mentioned in the Bible, right? There's several Eliezers mentioned, but this specific Eliezer, whose younger brother is Ithamar, you can't even tell me what chapter they're in, right? But if I say the words Nadab and Abihu, you tell me right where that is. Those dudes that brought strange fire, they got killed as a result. Leviticus chapter 10. But their two younger brothers, Eliezer and Ithamar, you don't hear about them because they were actually obedient. So same when and Eliezer, as he got older and Aaron died, he took over the priesthood, which is a super high honor in Israel. And that went to someone that was faithful. So a lot of times we hear the word testimony, we get kind of confused thinking it's a radical conversion. It's not always the case. A testimony is absolutely as strong and as powerful for children that have been grown up in a home to where they experienced things of God, and then they chose to go after it for themselves and walked in it throughout their adult life. So Be encouraged, brother.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's rare. Like I feel like, at least just coming from the circles and the upbringing that I grew up in, we attended church sporadically, but I didn't have that real strong raising and upbringing in the church like y'all talk about, and definitely had my falling away, my fair share of that going on. So it's inspiring for me to hear that there are actually people out there that are raised by parents that have a consideration and care for the things of God and His Word and fellowship and church and things like that. For you to have stayed in it, whether or not you left it in any capacity, even just with doubt or whatever the case, you still are a believer, and that's encouraging and good for other people to see that it can happen like that. Not everybody gets church hurt and runs from the faith
That's right.
altogether, right?